Hello friends, come along with me as we prep some garments today for embroidery. So all of these items that I'm going to prep right now are for kids and they are clothing items. So I like to use something called fusible no-show, and I'm going to show you what that is in just a second. I have a big roll of it, and you can get this from your local sewing store, or you can buy it on Amazon, or there are also lots of great like online sellers that you can buy it and order it from as well. So I'm going to do all of those, and then if I have a little bit like this left over, I just keep it for later because I might have a small project. Okay, so this is not quite enough. I have 4 here. I need a few more. So I'm just going to pull another strip. So like I said, it is sold in a long roll. So I just cut off quite a bit. Now, isn't that satisfying to just, yeah. Okay, we're going to start with this. So you also need an iron because this is fusible, so you're going to iron it onto the inside of the garment. What is interesting about this one, it has a shiny side, which I don't know if you can see it on the camera so good, but it does have a shiny side as well as a non-shiny side. It's also kind of gridded in a way, so this is going to be able to move and work with the garment really well. So that one was recommended to me. Okay, our first item, this is a red onesie from Blanksboutique, which is probably the blank company that I order from the most. Their onesies are phenomenal because they have this snaps all the way down the back, which for newborns, like, snaps aren't the greatest, but it's nice for this because if there's any sort of accident, you can just take it all the way off. You don't have to worry about like fitting it over their head. It also has snaps at the bottom, but it doesn't go all the way there. So anyway, I love this one for embroidery especially, and that's what it's designed for, to lay flat. So if you have a flatbed embroidery machine, which looks like a, you know, your standard sewing machine with a embroidery attachment, then these work really great. And also they work great for the free arms too. So as you saw, I just kind of preheated the item. One thing to note, at least about Blanksboutique, I have noticed more so with their red items that they sort of change color when you heat them. So they will go back to normal, but it's just something that if you start to freak out because you're like, oh no, it'll go back to normal, it's fine. It just has to cool off. Okay, so as you can see, this one's a little bit larger than I need it to be, but that's okay because we're just gonna cut it to size once we have it fused on there. So you just iron it a little bit. I have my iron on the linen cotton setting, so it's like one of the hotter settings, and then there you go. So for me, which everybody has their own way of doing things, but what I have come to find as the most accurate for me, without having to like measure and check again and check to find the center of the item, is to fold it in half and just press it a little bit so that there's like a little nice crease that you can iron out after the fact. It's funny because I never used my iron as much as I do now that I do embroidery. See how it's nice and creased? I know where the center is. So this is going to be an applique design, and I want it to be right around there. So I'm just gonna put some painter's tape to show me where I want it. I don't want it too high, so I want the design to start either here or a little lower so that baby can be comfortable and you can see it. So that is one. I like to keep the bags that come with them. So this is another blanks item, and I will save the bag because I like to put them back in there. All right, so obviously this one's pretty wrinkled. I want to go ahead and iron out those wrinkles so that my stitching looks really nice on here. So I'm gonna add a little bit of steam. And this iron is my very favorite. I got it maybe 2 Christmases ago, which is kind of funny, the things that you ask for as you get older. But I specifically wanted it for using for embroidery. I don't iron our clothes, really. We use a steamer because that's so much easier than getting out all the stuff. But I have these wool pads, which I love so much more than an ironing board. It was a pack of 2. They were from Amazon. It also came with a little jelly, well, I guess it's silicone ironing stand thingy that you can just lay on it and it won't burn. And I can link those. I can also link the iron because it's awesome. So lay that on there. Make sure that the shiny side is against the garment so that it can fuse right there. You don't have to do it long. You can kind of see when it starts to hang on. I don't know how to really describe it, but it just changes a little bit. And so we're gonna iron that on, and then we're gonna turn it inside out, or right side out. And I'm gonna do the same thing before. I'm gonna fold it in half and then find that center point and press it just slightly. And if by chance the center point that I press doesn't seem to be the center once I look at the garment straight on, obviously I can adjust it, but it's usually accurate. The tricky part is that sometimes the tag isn't always at the very center of the back, so that can throw you off. But if you feel the need, you can take a ruler and you can, measure from one side to the other and make sure that it's accurate, which in fact, I think that I'll do that now because I just want to double check this one. It looks a little different. All right, so 6.5, almost 6.5. So this one is a little bit off. This is about 7. So all we do, just steam that out, and we're gonna just measure across. So it looks like it's 13.5, which would mean not 7, because 7 would be 14, right? So it would have to be like 6.5 to the center. Let's see that. 6.5, 6.5. I think it's about right there. Nope, still showing you 6.5 over here. So for this one, I decided to measure it, and it's from sleeve to sleeve. It's about 11.5. So I'm gonna go at 5.5, and I'm just gonna lay my tape down there. Say that's about the center. And I wanna make sure it's straight, so there we go. A lot of it too is practice and looking at where it seems to be the center to the eye, because what can happen so much, whether you're hanging something in your home or you're, placing something on a shirt, it may be accurate with the level, but to your eye, it looks a little bit off, and you want it to, Also, nobody's gonna be just like standing straight upright the entire time. So there we go. Now to the next, another blanks. This is a short sleeve t-shirt. Their stuff is just really good. It's thicker quality. I will say that I find it does shrink, like the items that I have for my kids, they have shrunk. So I tend to buy a little bit bigger with that in mind. So while my girls could probably wear the size 6 dresses, they do. They're in like 7s. Blanks does, when you get up to the higher sizes, it does skip over some of the odd numbers. So they don't have size 7 in some things. So I just buy them the 8 and they can wear it longer, which is nice. Okay, so we're gonna put this on here, do the same thing, iron that on. No steam when you're fusing the no-show. Flip it right side out, fold it, find the middle, and on we go. So mark where I want roughly the design to be. I like to have them a little bit higher to the neck, because if they go any lower, sometimes it's tricky with kids because you don't know how long their torso is, but If it goes lower, then it's like on their belly. So I try and stay 2.5 inches below the collar typically, unless it's something that, you know, obviously needs to be lower because of the way it's created or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna iron this one. So I do not wash my stuff before I do it. Some people do. I am not one of those people because it would be a lot. And then again, like I said, if it shrunk, then it would be tricky with, I'm gonna preheat it, it would be tricky with the sizing. So I don't wash it before I stitch it. Some people do, but I'm not one of those people. Also, everybody's got like a favorite laundry scent and all the things, so it's kind of tricky for that. Make sure it's lined up really nice. Create that crease. See how the tag is like over here, but this is the middle? So that's what I'm talking about. It's tricky if you can't always go by where the tag is. Again, I'm gonna go about 2.5 or so inches down, not too far down. 2 more. Got a lot today that I need to work on, which is a wonderful problem to have. Make sure we're still looking for that shiny side. You will find out quickly if you do not lay it down the right way, because it will stick to the iron, which is no fun, because then you gotta clean off your iron. It's a big mess. I have learned that the hard way when I have been rushing and I haven't been focused on what I'm doing the way that I should have been. Got that. Steam. This is another time when the order forms can come in handy, your order sheets. Another thing that I will do is just use a sticky note and I'll write what's going on it, and then I'll take a little stitching clip or pin and pin it to the item so that I know. Fortunately, these are all for the same person, so it's a little bit easier because of that. I can ask her what goes on what, and generally pretty easy. But obviously, the preference for me is to get all the information before I start so that I don't have to, in the middle of stitching, ask questions about certain things. But I will say that one thing that I feel like sets your local embroiderer apart from, you know, going to the mall or going to really any other place, like a big shop, is that I have a lot of fonts, like far too many, way more than I need. But it has allowed me, because I did work in an embroidery store in college, and it has allowed me to look at all the different fonts with your kid or your name, your initials, to make sure that it's gonna look as good as it can. Because sometimes, you know, you see a font and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so cute, but then like there's a letter in your name that stitches, or the font is gonna be really weird looking for that specific letter. Or there are a lot of fonts lately that people are creating that are a lot of upper and lowercase letters in like strange, I don't know, formations, which they're cute, but it's like, if people don't know that that's the way it's gonna stitch out, or that's the way it's gonna look, then it can be a little surprising when you get your item back. Like, I had so many customers at Monograms Plus who would want like circle script or something like that for a monogram, and then they would be using like the letter T, which looks like a J sometimes, or they'd be doing an I, which can look not like an I, or an E, that can, you know, and if that's your monogram, like, it's tricky because you never know. But what I try to do is, like, if they choose circle script, I'll be like, okay, this is what yours looks like. Are we good to go? And sometimes people are like, yeah, because they've come to expect that's what that font looks like. And other times people are like, do you have one that, like, where the I looks more like an I? So I really like to be able to offer that special, I don't know, like white glove touch to my customers because, you know, I don't know that you'd get that at the, I know that you won't get that at the big stores. And I don't want anybody to be disappointed because embroidery is not something that we need. It's a luxury, and it's a really cute and fun thing, but you want it to be right because you're paying for it and you want it to be what you're expecting. So anyway, I'm stepping off the soapbox now. There we go. We've got 2 more. One, and we'll do the last one, which is not a blanks item. This other one is a customer. And you guys, I keep going back and forth. I got some really, really cute items from Stitchy Fish for my girls. Nothing with design or anything, personalization or anything like that. But I keep going back and forth whether I want to like embroider them or not, because number one, it's work. Number two, I don't know. Oh, I gotta cut some more. So let me cut 2 more. I think that they'll be a lot cuter with the embroidery, so I'm probably just gonna do it. But then it's so funny because like I do this all the time for other people, but when it comes down to like choosing, this is the problem with having excellent embroidery design creators just at the tip of your fingers, because you can just order all the cutest stuff and then you end up having way too many options, and then it's like overwhelming even for me because I'm like, well, I really want like, you know, to do this, but will I be unhappy if I put that instead of that? At some point you just have to make the choice. So 1 more. So this is the last item. This is said a customer provided, and if the customer keeps the tags on, then I try not to take them off unless it's something that's gonna interfere with my machine, and then I need to, but this one can get out of the way pretty good. This is such a cute little set. Ugh, I'm a ruffle girl. I love all things ruffles, and yes, so she just wants her daughter's monogram on this in navy, so making sure that's not the shiny side. I'm gonna put it up here. I also have a stocking that I'm gonna stitch today for a friend, a coworker who, not a sewing shop coworker, because that's just Dylan and the girls when I ask them to do something for me. But this is a school coworker who, she said that the mall turned her away. They said it was too thick, and I think it's because they were trying to stitch through more layers than necessary. So I'm gonna work on that one today so I can give it back to you tomorrow. And yeah, this is gonna be so cute. Oh my goodness, excited. So we are done prepping these items. Yay!